Hey everybody, welcome to the video. So we're going to my core plays for week 5 of the NFL season over on Draftkings. All I'm doing in this video is I'm taking a handful of my favorite plays in the entire slate. Not really caring much about ownership or anything like that, just my straight up 5 favorite plays on the slate. And I put in a short, sweet, to the point video for you guys that hopefully you do enjoy. But before we continue though, as always, if you guys could just leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps me out and I really do appreciate that. And if you don't follow me over on social media, my handle's in the bottom left hand corner of your screen. And if you want some more content over on Patreon, that's always much appreciated. You get access into the entire NFL DFS data sheet, cheat sheet, notes, and all that fun stuff in a Discord chat as well. So if you're interested, links down below for that. If not, that's fine. Let's just get right into today's core plays for week 5 of the NFL season. Alright, so leading off with core play number 1 here, we have Zeke Elliott at $7,800, and I just feel like he's a bit underpriced here. He's second in the NFL in touches, only behind Josh Jacobs. I believe Josh Jacobs is at 96, Zeke is at 93, and then third is Joe Mixon at 90. And look, I want exposure to this Cowboys offense, and I feel like this is going to be more of a Zeke game than it's going to be a Dak Prescott and the wide receiver game, because we've seen the first few weeks that the Cowboys have been getting themselves into holes because that defense is absolutely horrendous, and they've been having to play catch up for most of the season. Well, now they're 9-point favorites at home versus a pretty poor Dallas team that has, or not Dallas team, I'm sorry, a Giants team that has scored 3 offensive touchdowns this season. I think the Cowboys will have this game in hand, and this should be a huge Zeke game. I mean, being a 9-point favorite at home is always good for that home running back, and the Cowboys have a 31.5 applied team total. This should be a pretty high scoring game, and Zeke is fine no matter what, because if they're trailing, he's going to be involved in the passing game, and if they're leading, they're just going to ground and pound with Zeke. Now, I will say, the loss of Tyron Smith is obviously a blow to the offensive line, but I still think Zeke's going to be fine here. This team plays at the fastest pace of play so far this season at under 20 seconds per play, which is by far the fastest. He's getting 17.5 rushing attempts per game so far. He's also really involved in the passing game, which is what I love from him this season. He's getting nearly 6 catches per game on 7 targets per game. He's also got a near 16% target share. So Zeke, he's fine whether it's on the ground or through the air, and especially in a PPR site like DraftKings, those receptions he's getting every single game is a massive boost to his floor. Like, he has been, even if he's not crushing on the ground, he has not scored less than 17 points in the game this season. So I think the floor is very high for Zeke. The ceiling's also very high as well. I would be surprised if he doesn't get you 100+ yards and a touchdown or 2. And only 7,800, I will take that all day. Now, the New York Giants, they actually are 11th DVA versus run this season, but they're still allowing nearly 30 DraftKings points per game to running backs, about 85 rushing yards per game, and also 53 receiving yards per game to running backs as well. So Zeke, I think he's in an excellent spot here. I think he's just a bit underpriced, and I want exposure to this Dallas team this weekend, but I prefer it being with Zeke over guys like Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. I think those guys are good plays, but I really think this is going to be a pretty big Zeke game this week. And then getting into core play number 2, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire here at only $6,800, $1,000 cheaper than Zeke Elliott. I love pairing these two together. These are my 2 favorite running back plays on the entire slate. You'll see my third one very soon here, but he's in a very similar spot as Zeke is. Like, they're both massive home favorites. The Chiefs are 11.5-point favorites at home with a team total above 33 this week, which is the highest on the entire slate, and a 55-point over/under. And he's also going to be involved in the passing game as well if need be. So this is a very, very similar play to Zeke, both on great offenses here, and I love this spot. The matchup is very, very good versus Las Vegas Raiders, who have been horrendous versus running backs so far this season. Currently, they're 30th DVA versus the run, allowing nearly 40 DraftKings points per game to the position, over 100 rushing yards per game, and nearly 2 rushing touchdowns per game as well. They're also getting killed through the air by running backs with nearly 8 catches per game and 70 receiving yards per game as well. We know Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a very capable pass catcher. He's got the best quarterback in football, keeping defenses honest, so you can't just sell it to stop Helaire, because then Patrick Mahomes is going to just burn you through the air. So I love Clyde Edwards-Helaire here, and he's getting plenty of volume so far this season, nearly 18 rushing attempts per game, only 76 rushing yards per game, but he's going to be involved in the passing game as well with nearly 5 targets per game, 3.5 catches, and 32 receiving yards. So I'm a big fan of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and if you can just pair up Zeke and Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the same lineup this week, I would feel very, very good about that. I feel like they're very similar plays, and you get a $1,000 discount off of Zeke with Helaire as well. So core play number 2 for me is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I think he's just in a fantastic spot. So getting into core play number 3, we have our first wide receiver, and it's a pretty cheap one in Darius Slayton at $4,800. I feel like he's going to be pretty popular this week, but I think it's for good reason. We know the Dallas offense, they're going to put up points, and we know this Dallas defense has been horrendous this season. So if we're going to stack up Dallas, I want to run it back with one of the Giants here, and you can do it with a couple of guys like Evan Ingram, Darius Slayton, and then you can even use Daniel Jones at quarterback this week. But I love Darius Slayton here, my favorite wide receiver plays on the entire slate, like the price tag. And this is mainly just picking on the Dallas defense, which has been horrendous versus wide receivers so far this year. We saw Odell Beckham Jr. have a massive 3-touchdown game versus them last week, albeit one was a 50-yard rushing touchdown, but he still burned them through the air. And I think Darius Slayton's in a great spot to hit value here. So if you're looking at his numbers this season, they haven't been incredible, but nearly 7 targets per game with a 20% target share. He's also got a 36% market share of the team's air yards and 358 air yards on the season. Also only 60 receiving yards per game as well, but love the matchup here. I expect the Giants to be trailing in this game. They are 9-point dogs on the road, so this sets up pretty well here for the passing game and Daniel Jones, which I know the Giants have struggled mightily on offense this season. I believe they have 3 offensive touchdowns, so it's not been very easy for the Giants offense, but this is definitely a very good spot for him. Slayton, he's a guy that can definitely have some huge games. We saw week 1 where he had a 2-touchdown performance and had over 30 DraftKings points. Not saying I fully expect that, but it would not surprise me here versus Dallas. They are 25th DVOA versus the pass, allowing nearly 55 DraftKings points per game to the wide receiver position, 53 to be exact. Nearly 200 receiving yards per game to wide receivers specifically, and 2.25 receiving touchdowns per game to wide receivers specifically as well. So Darius Slayton, he's in an excellent spot. Love that price tag. I like that the Giants are going to be trailing this game because it should be a pass-heavy approach. The Dallas Cowboys do play pretty fast, so I expect this to be a pretty back-and-forth game for the most part. I mean, I do think the Giants are going to be trailing by probably 2 scores for majority of this game, but that's all fine with me because we know they really don't have a run threat. I mean, I know Devontae Freeman's there, but even then, you can't really expect much from that. So Darius Slayton, I think this game sets up very well for him, and it would not surprise me if he has one of those 100-yard plus games with a touchdown or 2, making him a very excellent choice at only $4,800. And then core play number 4 for me is Mike Davis at $6,400. His price is rising each and every single week, but he is filled in very well for CMC in that Christian McCaffrey role in this offense. I'm not saying he's as good as CMC, but he's putting up some pretty strong numbers. Like just looking at the game log, 15.5 points where he didn't even play the full game versus Tampa Bay, 23 points versus the Chargers in week 3. Then last week, 22.1 points versus Arizona. And what I like about him the most is he's very involved in the passing game. He saw 8 receptions, 8 receptions, and 5 receptions on 8, 9, and 6 targets. So you're getting a lot of action in the passing game, which is great on a PPR site like DraftKings. This is what makes his floor very safe each and every single week. And I love this Carolina-Atlanta game for DFS purposes. It should be one of the more popular games on the slate. There's a lot of good plays. You got Matt Ryan, Teddy Bridgewater, Calvin Ridley, the guy I'm going to talk about next, so I won't spoil it. You got DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and you got Mike Davis. You even got Todd Gurley as well. So this is going to be a very loaded game for DFS purposes. But Mike Davis, he's one of, if not my favorite play in this game, and one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. We got a 54-point over-under here. The Panthers have a 26.25 implied team total, and it's only a 1.5-point spread. So this should be a very back-and-forth, fast-paced game for the most part, and I think a lot of points are going to be scored here. And Mike Davis, he's in an excellent spot, especially with his pass-catching abilities. He's got a 16.67 target share in the season, a 24% weighted opportunity share. And the thing I like the most is the Falcons are always known for giving up receptions to running backs, which is something Mike Davis has excelled at. And right now, they're giving up 8.5 catches per game to the running back position, and nearly a receiving touchdown per game as well to running backs, and 65 receiving yards per game. Now, they are 12th DVA versus the run, but I feel like this is mostly due to how easy it is to pass on the Falcons, and they're still giving up nearly 30 DraftKings points per game to the position. So Mike Davis, I think he's in a bit of a smash spot here. Now, the price has risen to a point where he's not like an extreme value like he has been the past couple of weeks. But at $6,400, I still feel like this is a pretty fair price point. I love the matchup as well. So Mike Davis, one of my favorite plays on the slate. And my 5th and final core play here is an absolute free play, which if Julio Jones is out, this makes him an excellent value play, and it's going to really open up your lineup. So if Julio Jones is out and you just put a free play in a wide receiver at $3,000, you can pretty much play whoever you want, whether it's the quarterback position, the running back position, or the wide receiver position. So no offense to Julio, but I'm kind of hoping he sits this out, rest up, get better for the next week, because I really want to play Zacchaeus, whatever it is here, at only $3,000. We saw Julio Jones miss the second half last week versus the Green Bay Packers, and Zacchaeus, he stepped up. He had 9 targets, caught 8 of them for 86 yards, and had 16.6 fantasy points. And the week before that, he had 8.1 fantasy points where he caught 4 balls on 6 targets for 41 yards. And he's going to be involved opposite side of Calvin Ridley here if Julio Jones happens to be out. And this is a great matchup versus the Panthers as well. And like I said before with Mike Davis, I want exposure to this game. And I think he's going to end up being very high owned if Julio Jones happens to be out because, again, it is an absolute free play. It's kind of like the KJ Hamler play a few weeks ago. And I actually played KJ Hamler in cash at $3,000. If I played KJ Hamler in cash at $3,000, I'll play Zacchaeus here at $3,000 all day long because this is, I mean, I feel like he's in a much better spot. We know the volume's going to be there. And I would not surprise me if he got close to 10 targets here, and 10 targets at 3K. Sign me up for that all day. We know Matt Ryan's going to be throwing the ball quite a bit. That Falcons offense loves throwing the ball. They also play at a pretty decent fast pace as well. And they have a team total of nearly 28 this week. It's only a 1.5 point spread. They're at home in the Dome where Matt Ryan typically plays better football. So yeah, you can sign me up for him all day long. If you're looking at how the Panthers have done versus the past this season, they are 26 DVOA. Now, they're only allowing 32.9 DraftKings points per game to wide receivers, but it is a little bit easier to run on this Panthers team, but still, they're allowing a receiving touchdown per game, 131 receiving yards per game. So ZACCHEAUS here, 3,000. I think he's a very easy value play. And that's going to conclude this video, guys. So I hope it was helpful. If it was, make sure you leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, consider that subscribe button. It really does help me out, and I really do appreciate all your guys' support on here. We're going to get close to 7,000 subscribers here in a month or two. So I really do appreciate that when we do hit that milestone. But I'm going to leave you guys with that. Again, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, comment below, and I'll try to answer them. Sometimes I do miss it on Football Sunday because, it's Football Sunday. I'm a little bit busy, and I got some NASCAR content to cover as well. But again, appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to head out of here, and thanks for watching, I guess.